All right, we are live. Welcome to the seventh edition of the Monday Takeaway. I'm your host, Robert O'Neill. I'm flying solo today. It's kind of a weird day around here. First of all, it's not Monday, um, but not Monday. Flying solo. Let's get weird. Um, I think we should probably just jump right in like we usually do. As we would if it was Monday, and we'll just talk about the AP polls first. Not too much change because of the holiday. A lot of teams weren't in action. Michigan State stays on top. Kansas is still two. Oklahoma still three. Actually, the top 10 didn't change. So, um, no, I don't know if that's true. I think this thing that I'm seeing is a little messed up. But the thing that really bugged a lot of people, Providence fell from 10 to 12. Um, and they won their one game of the week against UMass by a pretty decent margin. And a lot of people were mad because they got jumped by Kentucky, who won a home game against Louisville. And I know, that's a big rivalry or whatever, but it seems like Kentucky got a bump for being Kentucky, and Providence got, penalized for not being Kentucky, which was kind of messed up. Um, got my coffee, so some things are still the same around here. Um, Yeah, Xavier is at 6, Butler's at 9, Providence at 12, Villanova's at 16, and no other Big East teams received votes, which I still think maybe Seton Hall could receive a vote or two, or maybe Marquette, maybe whoever wins that game tomorrow night, will start receiving some votes. I think those are two very good teams, but you know, for Marquette, they played a very weak non-conference schedule, and for Seton Hall, I think we've seen this before with them, and the voters might just be waiting until conference play to see what they really think about them. Um, all right, moving aside from the polls, we didn't do a Big East Coast Bias Player of the Week this week because most teams played one game, but the Big East still did one, and it was Ben Bentel for the second time this year um, from Providence, and it's not really surprising. In their game against UMass, he had a career high 32 and he had 12 rebounds, shot 11 for 16. Um, if we did do a Big East Coast Bias Player of the Week, my vote would have probably been Bentel or Henry Ellenson, who had a great game against Presbyterian. But yeah, Bentel won. And really, Ben Bentel might be my vote at this point for Big East Player of the Year, which is staggering since he plays on a team with Chris Dunn. But you know, obviously Chris Dunn brings a lot to the table. I'm not going to deny that. That'd be crazy. But I don't know. We saw the Friars without Dunn for a couple games, and they still got by because of Bentel. So, Bentel 18 and 8 so far this year, which is up from last year when he had 6 and 5. So, I mean, his minutes are up too, but that's still pretty ridiculous. I mean, he was supposed to be the second option, but he's kind of emerging as a 1A type thing to Chris Dunn. Um, and if you go and look at the conference statistics, Ben Bentel actually currently leads the conference in scoring with 18.8 and is sixth in rebounding with his 8 a game. So, yeah, it's a tough argument. Henry Ellenson is second in both scoring and rebounding, so I don't know if he's necessarily getting his due. Um, Basically, if we had to name a player of the year so far just from non-conference play, I don't think I could do it. There's just way too much going on here so far. A lot of good players, a lot of good teams, a very deep league. Um, Freshman of the week was Edmund Sumner for the second straight week. And Xavier, actually, they had a little bit of a scare against Wake Forest, and Sumner really helped them out. Had 21 points, 9 rebounds. And he's really been good. Replacing D. Davis was going to be a big thing for them, just like replacing Matt Stainbrook was. But in replacing Stainbrook, you had guys like James Farr, who could get down low, and Jalen Reynolds. But coming into the year, Sumner was a little bit more of a question mark because he redshirted last year. Um, but he's been great so far. He's at 11.6 per game, which he's one of five Xavier players averaging in double figures. And yeah, his assists are a little bit low at 3.3, but he can rebound. He doesn't get the steals too often, but you hope those will come maybe a little bit later. But three straight games in double figures now, so that's big for him, big for Xavier, as they look to open conference play still 12-0. And that's a game that I'll talk about in a little bit when they travel to the Pavilion on Thursday, which is going to be a great game. Just kind of powering through here. When you only have one person, you don't get that back and forth. I don't want to just make this me talking at you the entire time. So I might take a couple pauses here or there just to take a breath. Let me just pull up the power rankings from this week. Not too much change from last week. Xavier still number one. I believe it was still unanimous. Yep. Butler sticks at number two. Got their conference play at 11-1. Yeah, they took the loss to Miami, and everyone thought they might have been in a little bit of trouble after they took the loss to Miami, dealing with size and whatnot, because that really is what beat them against Miami. And then they came and faced the size that Purdue has, and they were able to handle them. So, Butler's an interesting team because Kellen Dunham hasn't been playing very well lately. Tyler Lewis has come on very well. Roosevelt Jones has been great. And Keelan Martin has been very good, and Andrew Shrabis has been very good. So the thing about Butler, it's been a while since, all five or six of their main guys have actually been firing on all cylinders. So this might not even be the best version of this Butler team we could see. That's a big test for them as they'll face Providence at Hinkle on Thursday, and then they will they'll go to Xavier on Saturday. So a couple of good tests. Really, all three of the actually all four, Villanova, Butler, Providence, and Xavier, have some pretty serious tests in the first couple games, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But just getting back to Butler, they won 3 in a row to start the year, lost to Miami in the Puerto Rico final, and then now they've won 8 in a row since then. And, they don't have the best non-conference schedule, but they're doing what they need to do. And, I mean, that Miami loss on a neutral floor, that's not a bad loss. Their defense is improving, and their offense is still very good. So, Butler stays at number 2. Villanova at 10-2 are at number 3. They really dismantled Penn last night, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Providence 12-1, number 4. I think number 4 is an okay spot for them. I know they're 12-1, but the knock is they don't have many good wins outside of Arizona, but they're getting the job done. And to be 12-1 going into conference play, I think that's something that that's something they'll definitely take. Their non-conference schedule is actually better than Butler's if you look at KenPom, but that's also because they did play Arizona and Michigan State. But for your one loss of the year to be against the best team in the country on a neutral floor where you were in that game right up till the end, definitely a good sign for Ed Cooley's bunch heading into conference play. Number 5 is Marquette. They didn't have a game last week, so they had 2 this week, and they took care of business. They've won 9 in a row, and after the 1-2 start, they've turned it around to be 10-2 going into conference play, which I don't think you could ask for more. I think that's about where you would have pegged them to be going into this season. And really, through no fault of their own, their non-conference is starting to look kind of weak because Wisconsin suddenly isn't very good. LSU hasn't been very good. Arizona State struggled with Cal Bakersfield last night. So Marquette is going to need to make some noise in the conference. But, you know, you say 10-2 out of conference and then maybe 500 in the conference to put them at 20-11. Would that be? 9, 19-12? 19-11? I can't do math. Not a math guy. Yeah, something of 9-9, 19-11. Yeah. So that would put them right on the bubble. I mean, you win a Big East tournament game or two, I say. It depends how strong the bubble is, too. That's something you got to keep in mind because we don't know how strong the bubble will be. The last bracket math had Marquette as the first team in first four out, and that was last week, I think, before either of their two wins, which I don't know if their wins are actually going to change anything because they weren't against very good teams. They actually fell in the KenPom rankings when they only beat Presbyterian by 18 points, which I don't really blame them. The other two times that Marquette's played Presbyterian, they've beat them by 40. So, which, I mean, that's really nitpicky thing to care about, but, you know. Number 6, Seton Hall. They've been very good lately. I think the only reason Marquette jumped them was because Seton Hall only had one game. It was against South Florida, and they just blew them away. And again, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but Seton Hall and Marquette is one of the most intriguing games of the year already. Just conference play just opening, but that's a game that you're going to want to watch. Number 7 is Georgetown. Georgetown might be in a little bit of trouble, but they're also the type of team that I could still see, rattling off some conference wins because they have a lot of talent. They just need to get it together. But they were in a close one with Charlotte, which is not where you want to be, especially after you lost to Monmouth and UNC Asheville. They shoot a lot of threes. They're top 25 in the country right now in three-point percentage at 40.1. And, that'll equate a lot of points. And, you look at Creighton's schedule, going to Loyola Chicago and losing was bad. The Arizona State loss right now is okay because they're still a pretty good team. Going to Indiana, whatever. Going to Oklahoma, whatever. So, do I think Creighton's better than last year? Yes. But you also have to keep in mind the Big East is better than last year in general, so Creighton might still finish near the bottom this year. Or they could also end up on the bubble and sneak their way into the tournament, There's a lot of uncertainty going into conference play because every team was so good out of conference. Number 9 is DePaul, who at 6-6 are the actual worst team in the Big East right now. And even them, they had one of the biggest wins of the year when they beat George Washington by 20 at the Rosemont Horizon last week. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But before that, they hadn't beat a ranked team at home since 2008. So big win for DePaul, especially coming off the 3-game losing streak they were on. And then the bottom of our power rankings belongs to St. John's. You kind of had to expect it. They won, they've had a weird season. 7-6. They won 3 in a row, lost 2 in a row, split Chaminade and Fordham, won 3 in a row, lost 3 in a row. So, they're currently not favored to win a conference game. They're not going to lose every conference game, but just in terms of favored right now, they're not. And we knew what this year was going to be. If they could get to double-digit wins, that's got to be an accomplishment. Their big news this week was that Bashir Ahmed committed, so they already have a pretty solid recruiting class next year. And if you could add Thon Maker or Riley Aikens to it, they might be a team to watch next year in the Big East. All right, so those are the power rankings. No real moves. Let's just get into the week that was real quick. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the blowouts. We never do. Let's see. When did we last talk? Last Monday. Yeah, Providence and UMass, which we already talked about. That game was important because Chris Dunn came back from whatever was ailing him. He looked good, 14-11, 6 rebounds, but it was the Ben Bentel show. 32 points, 12 rebounds. 32 was a career high for him, which we mentioned. And Junior Lamamba had a nice 11-point showing. Providence actually, you could tell they're missing Ryan Fazekas a little bit because they don't have that guy that can put up the three. And he's got mono. We haven't had an update on him in a while. Mono takes a while to get better from. So I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see him maybe for the first week of conference play or so. Marquette beat down Chicago State. Really, no need to talk about that one. And then Creighton against North Texas, their first 100-point outing of the week. Jeffrey Grizel's been really good this year. I don't think anyone talks about him as much as they should. 27 points in that one. Mo Watson's playing his best basketball of the year. Had a good time heading into conference play. So that was Monday. A couple blowout wins. It was like last night. And then Tuesday, Wake Forest actually gave Xavier a bit of a scare in the Skip Prosser Classic. At the half, Xavier was actually trailing 43-28, but I'm not sure anyone actually thought that Xavier was going to lose this game, especially the second half opened, and they just came out on a run right away, cut it to 5, and then I think we knew that they were probably going to take care of business. So, Sumner, we talked about him, 21 points, 9 rebounds. Trayvon Blewett, 17 points, 9 rebounds. It turned into business as usual in the second half for the Musketeers. And now, again, we'll talk about it. They're heading to Villanova. Butler kind of beat down Southern Utah. No real surprise there. Actually, the surprise was that Butler didn't score 100 because Southern Utah really is not good defensively. Kellen Dunham's slump continued in that game, continued last night, so Butler has to hope that he's about ready to shoot out of it. Villanova took down Delaware, which was a nice rebound for them after the tough loss in Virginia. Pretty standard Villanova game. All the guards got to double digits. That was a game where Chris Jenkins messed up his knee a little bit, and his game time decision last night, he didn't start, but he did play. So I don't know. I would assume going forward that might be the role he uses till his knee gets better. And then we talked about this one a little bit, but DePaul and George Washington, this game was really never close. DePaul, this was kind of like the Stanford game for DePaul last year, where they just dominated end to end. Billy Garrett had 20, Eli Kane had 16, Aaron Simpson had 15, Mike Henry had 11, and they were just... And this is against a team that beat Virginia earlier in the year. So, really nice to see from DePaul something like this. Because, they have their struggles. But going into conference play on a high note like this, beating a ranked team, it's got to give them some confidence. South Carolina and St. John's didn't go exactly well. South Carolina is now 11-0. And, I don't think St. John's played particularly bad in this game. They had 3 guys in double figures. They actually won the turnover battle. Couldn't get many rebounds, but sometimes you just get beat by a better team. And Dwayne Notice is very good. He had 20 for South Carolina. Tip your hat, move on. Talked about South Florida and Seton Hall. South Florida didn't actually score till about the 9-minute mark in this game. So, Seton Hall, big outing from Angel Delgado. Went 14-11. Isaiah Whitehead actually struggled to get the ball in the hole. Only had 6 points, but he had 10 assists. So, I'm really excited for conference play to start because ideally you won't get these mundane blowouts as often because these are tough to talk about. I mean, oh, this team won like they should have by a lot, like they should have. They're even tougher to write about. They're tough to get excited about. So, and Thanksgiving, easy to get excited. You're playing these other great teams, but by this point in the schedule, everyone's just kind of tuning up for conference play, and it's bad. Georgetown and Charlotte, we talked about a little bit. Um, Georgetown giving a bit of a scare. They only shot 34%. I don't, I don't know. Georgetown seems like maybe this year because they have a lot of talent. So what's the issue? Do they not like playing with each other? Do they not get motivated for the game? I mean, this is a road game. It's not like when they can't come out at home and they don't have anyone in the crowd. So I mean, that's a little bit more. But Charlotte's 2-8 going into this game. Charlotte's not a good team. And Georgetown's only beating them by 3. And Georgetown didn't lose that much from last year, where they lost Josh Smith, who Bradley Hayes has replaced masterfully already. And for the most part, I know I'm forgetting someone, but they've replaced everyone they lost. I don't get Georgetown. That was actually it that was it until Marquette played Presbyterian, which we talked about. They didn't beat them by as many as they should have, but Henry Ellenson and Luke Fisher continued to look like one of the best 4-5s in the country. Both had 17, combined for 29 rebounds. Those are the two guys Marquette's going to ride in conference play, and it's tough to blame them. Those are your two big guys. And then last night, 3 more blowouts, which really is a fitting way to end non-conference play. Butler and IUPUI. Butler had a slow start, but they ended up winning by 40. Keelan Martin had 19. Andrew Shrabis had something like 15. Roosevelt Jones had 17. Whole bunch of rebounds going around. Kellen Dunham struggled. He only had 8. He's been in the slump, which, again, Butler has to hope that he can get out of. What else? I lost my train of thought here. Oh, yeah, Villanova and Penn. Villanova was winning this game 30-5 at one point, so that's all you need to know there. Daniel Chefu probably had his best game of the year, 12 points, 10 rebounds, only 1 foul, and that's the big thing. I wrote about this in the recap last night. His fouls committed over 40 minutes was at 5.1 coming into this game, which was not great. It was, I believe, in the top 10 in the Big East. Yeah. And now he's still in the top 10, but he's down to 4.84, which, big men are going to commit fouls because people are driving in on them, but it's definitely going to be important for Villanova. It's about timeliness of fouls. If you're picking up 2 in the first, 10 minutes, then you need to not do that. I was curious. Joshua Smith last year, 6.79 fouls committed over 40 minutes, which was first in the conference by quite a lot. And also, let's see. No, they don't have the national numbers. That's got to be pretty high for... Hold on, I got to check this now. Oh, no, you can't. It only goes lowest 100. But, I mean, we all watched Josh Smith last year. You saw him. He'd get going, just get 2 early fouls, and Georgetown would be in some trouble. And that's why I've said, Bradley Hayes has been this year what Joshua Smith should have been last year. Anyway, one more game last night. Creighton hung 100 yet again. Godfather's Pizza actually out there in Omaha runs a promotion where if Creighton scores 75 plus points at home and wins, all the fans get a free personal pizza. Well, They might have to change that next year with the new rules because Creighton has scored in every home game so far at least 80 points in every home win at least, and then in the loss they scored 77 to Arizona State. So you're giving away a lot of pizza out there. And free pizza is good pizza. Any pizza is good pizza. All right. Anyway, getting back to the actual game last night, there's not a whole ton to talk about. Creighton had 7 guys in double figures. So that's something to talk about. That was the first time since 1980, I believe, that happened. So really, Jeffrey Gozell, another guy that could be in that conference player of the year discussion right now because while he's not lighting it up, he's incredibly efficient. This week actually went 16 for 17 from the field, and I know it's easier for big men because, look where they shoot from and look how tall they are. But that doesn't matter. And Grosel already this year, his numbers are way up from last year. Again, the minutes are higher too, but he's been great. He's been great. All right. Let's get into a little biggest surprise of the non-conference. It has to be Georgetown, I think. I know we all thought that they would lose to probably Duke, and I think we had them splitting the games against, between Maryland, Wisconsin, and then either Duke or VCU. I think we thought 2-1, but 1-2 wasn't crazy. But we obviously didn't have them losing to Radford, Monmouth, or UNC Asheville, so they've been a surprise. Was not expecting them to be at 7-5 going into conference play. Another surprise, probably Xavier. I mean, just because we thought they were going to be good, but they actually started the year. They looked sluggish against Miami, Ohio, and Missouri, 2 teams that they're much better than. And then they went to the Chrysler Center and they just beat Michigan down. And from there, it just seems like they've been just rolling. So, in terms of, big surprises, Providence, I guess, too, being 12-1 after. Because, the big thing was how are they going to replace LaDontae Henton, and they've been able to so far. Again, I can't really do a non-conference player of the year right now. If I was going to do a newcomer of the year, it would have to be Henry Ellenson, only player in the top 5 in the Big East in scoring and rebounding. He is probably only there for a year. Actually, it's a good time to announce this. We will actually be in the building for St. John's Marquette on January 9th. I'm really looking forward to seeing Ellenson live, seeing the St. John's team in person. But yeah, Chris and myself be in the Bradley Center. So we'll have some, thoughts from the road for you, that sort of thing. All right, let's see here. Wednesday, there are no games. Oh yeah, there are games. There are no games today, but tomorrow, obviously, there are games. I knew that. Seton Hall Marquette. All right. Now I want to talk about this one because this is one of the biggest conference openers in any conference because both of these teams really need to win. Because, Marquette, Seton Hall would be their best win of the year in terms of KenPom. Seton Hall comes in this game at 47. And Marquette's non-conference schedule, which I mentioned earlier, is currently 338th in the country out of 351 teams in terms of, the combined winning percentages of the teams. Now, while that's not necessarily Marquette's fault because, LSU's worse than they thought, Wisconsin's worse than they thought, Marquette's also played, let's see here, well, they played the worst KenPom team in Grambling State, but Maine, San Jose State, Chicago State, Presbyterian are all below 320. And IUPUI is not very good either. So, for Marquette to beat Seton Hall tomorrow night at the Bradley Center, it's definitely it'd be a 10-game winning streak for them. First of all, for the first time since let's see, that a 10-game winning streak, 2011, 2012 non-conference here. So that was their last 10-game winning streak. But just to start conference playoff on the right foot like that, because after Seton Hall, they go to Georgetown and Providence, and road games aren't easy. And then they come back. So you got to get your wins where you can. And Seton Hall at home, Seton Hall's been good, but I think Marquette matches up very well with them. Because, Seton Hall's got the big guys down low. Marquette's got Ellenson and Fisher. But then you flip the coin over. Seton Hall, great non-conference so far. No one expected them to come in to Big East play at 10-2. But the big knock on Kevin Willard in his time at Seton Hall has been that he doesn't win conference games, and it's tough to argue. He's 30-60 in the conference, and 12-24 in the new Big East. So, and there's always rumors that Willard might be coaching for his job, and if Seton Hall does end up going 6-12 in conference play again after a great non-conference start, there's a good chance that Willard might be looking for a new job next year. I mean, let's face facts. So for them to pick up a win on the road against Marquette and then come home and play a DePaul team who, while good, is a team that they should beat in Newark and possibly start the conference slate off 2-0 before they head to Villanova, that's big. You got to get your wins where you can. And that's what I said about Marquette, too. Because Marquette and Seton Hall are probably two of the teams in this conference that will both be fighting for a spot in the NCAA tournament come March. It all depends how strong or weak the bubble is, but I could definitely see it. So there's a game that I am just really looking forward to tomorrow night. Really can't wait. It should be a lot of fun. It's a perfectly, it's a great opener, especially for Thursday's festivities, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then we haven't even started talking about Saturday yet. I don't know for sure that we're going to talk about Saturday. Yeah, I don't know. I'll either talk about Saturday today or we'll come back on Friday and talk about them, and Chris will be here for that. I think we could come back on Friday just so we don't overload you on Monday. So that's probably the plan. Anyway, tomorrow night, Georgetown needs a win, and they will head to the Rosemont Horizon right up the road from me. I will not be there. We will maybe be at a DePaul game next week. I'm still trying to hammer out the details of that, but we will not be at this one. But, Georgetown, this is a game that if they lose, the wheels might really fall off because you lose that, and they play Marquette Saturday afternoon, and they have to go to Creighton. And if you can't win at the Rosemont Horizon, you're not going to win at CenturyLink. So, this is an important game for Georgetown. And the first conference game is important for every team. I get that. But it feels like the ones tomorrow night really have more weight than the ones Thursday, where the ones Thursday are going to be a lot of fun to watch, but all four of those teams are probably already, NCAA tournament bound. But the four teams playing tomorrow night, well, three of them, I don't think DePaul's making it this year, are really looking to get off on the right track. But then even with DePaul, they're riding high. They just beat a top 20 team. So if you can get a win against Georgetown as well, which I believe Georgetown did take a loss at the Rosemont Horizon in the past couple of years. Hold on. Let's check this here. Wasn't last year. No, they lost to DePaul in the Big East tournament opener in 2013, 2014. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. All right. So, DePaul has beaten Georgetown in the past. So Georgetown currently is favored 73-72 according to KenPom. I would imagine the actual betting line will be about 4.5-ish. I don't think that's up yet. Let me check real quick. Our friends at OddsShark, which you can check in our viewing guides every day. We always like to include the betting odds because Vegas is very often correct. Let's see, Wednesday. Nope, no lines for tomorrow yet. So that's something you'll have to keep a check on, but definitely would be a big game for Georgetown. Big game for DePaul. All right, and then Thursday, like I said, the games are a lot more fun on Thursday, but they don't really, I shouldn't say they don't mean as much. I mean, what we have Thursday is 2 top 20 matchups, but in the grand scheme of things, they really don't mean as much. I mean, Xavier Villanova, if Xavier can go in the Pavilion and win, Villanova's won 33 straight at the Pavilion. If Xavier can go in to win, they'll be in the top 5 next week. They are the team to beat in the Big East then. If Villanova wins, it's hold everything. Don't be so sure that Xavier's necessarily the team to beat. Although I think both have a very good chance to make some noise in March. Obviously, Xavier's 12-0. I didn't initially like that the Big East was kind of burying this game New Year's Eve. A lot of people will be at work. But now I like it. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good game. I'm not going to be at work. I can watch it. If you can't watch it, we'll be live tweeting it. We'll have recaps. So, Creighton and St. John's, that'll be a good game because Creighton has struggled on the road this year so far. I know you're thinking, oh, this isn't a game between two, bottom of the barrel teams, but Creighton's another one of those teams that might find their way onto the bubble by the end of the year. And this could be a good start for them. They're tough to beat at home, but they're going to need to win a couple road games too. You just win your home games, you're going 8-8, whatever it is. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9-9. So, although if Creighton goes 9-9, they're finishing the year at 18-12, 11, 18-13, which that's probably not good enough to get them in. So you see, you can't just win your home games. You can't go 9-0 at home and 0-9 on the road. And then Butler and Providence at Hinkle is actually going to be a lot of fun because Providence last year went into Hinkle and beat Butler, and Chris Dunn had a huge game. And that was a huge game against Alex Barlow, who was very good defensively. So, we'll have to see what Dunn can do against Tyler Lewis, or we'll actually have to see. They might slide Roosevelt Jones over and put him on Dunn, which that's not something that I would necessarily blame Chris Holtmann for doing. Roosevelt Jones is one of the better defenders in the Big East, and if you throw Tyler Lewis on a guy like one of Providence's other shooting guard, whoever, if Fazekas is back, you put him on Fazekas, or if it's someone else still in for Fazekas, you slide Tyler Lewis over to him. Butler plays a lot of man, so it is going to be interesting to watch. And really, it's a top 15 matchup. Could have been a top 10 matchup. Providence got jumped. We talked about that. It's at Hinkle, so it's a big deal. And there's not a whole bunch more to say about it, except for these are going to be 2 great games. Tomorrow night, we're going to have 2 games that really mean a lot. And Creighton St. John's is a game that's, worth watching. And I did see that Gus and Raftery are going to be at the Pavilion. I did get the announcing assignments the other day. We'll have them up, as we always do, but that's the one I remember for sure. So I think that'll about do it for today. We were a little abbreviated because it's just been me talking, but I don't know if we have questions. Let me check real quick. Um, no, I don't think so. Um, so that'll about do it. I know there are games Saturday, but Friday's an off day. Um, so I think Friday we're just gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the first 5 games, and then we're gonna preview Saturday, and then we'll be back Monday, and then after Monday we should be back on a regular schedule here with both of us. So, uh, we made it through non-conference play. Big East is currently sitting at let's see if I can figure this out real quick. If you go by KenPom rating, they're the 5th best conference, above the SEC, below the Big Ten by a couple percentage points. So let's see. Yeah, I'm not going to do this math right now, but they're very good. But they had a very good start or they had very good non-conference play last year as well. So now what you got to do is you got to take it the next step. And I know it's tough with the double round robin for too many teams to stand out, but you got to just make it happen. Like I said, I think Villanova, Xavier, Butler, and Providence are pretty likely already NCAA tournament bound, but I think there's at least one, maybe 2 more bids coming from Creighton, Georgetown, Seton Hall, Marquette. So you got 8 teams who are going to be right in the thick of it, and then you got DePaul and St. John's looking to play spoiler all year. So it's going to be fun. We'll be back on Friday afternoon to recap the first couple games and take a nice look at Saturday. And then we'll be back Monday to recap Saturday. So, well, maybe we'll be back Monday to recap Saturday. No, Monday might just be a preview of the next week. I don't actually know. We'll see. It's very fluid. Play it by ear. As always, thank you for watching. I'm Robert O'Neill. This has been a special Tuesday edition of your Monday Takeaway. Oh yeah, I forgot. I hope you all had a very nice Christmas if you celebrate. Very happy and healthy New Year, and we will see you Friday for the first Monday Takeaway of 2016. And it'll still be called the Monday Takeaway, and it still won't be on Monday. So, see ya.